Okay, so I want to take a little bit of the look at a little bit of the stuff that came in from your last assignment from the stuff from week number 5. Just a couple of other things. So we're going to get through this pretty quickly. So again, in no particular order. So when I take a look at some of this stuff, again, typically what I'll do is turn off so that the only thing I can see are the actual separate areas that have sort of been knocked out. And if you take a look at this one by Jared, things actually, there's very little dovetailing in here, so he's gone in and done some extra work. There's a little bit around here, not going to be the end of the world, but I look at these things by themselves as well. And if we take a look right here, this to me is problematic right here. So this is a lack of refined edge work going on in here. Again, I think it's really important that you guys view these things separately because that's the best way to see where there are problems. There's small problems that are running along here. You can see there's contamination in the hand showing right here. This is so easy to clean this all up using pen tool. That's how I would actually go about doing it. So I just sort of wanted to point that part of it out as well. I want to show you one from Micah really quickly here. So this ended up, I think, hang on one second. Yeah, there was a problem right here, and you can sort of spot it right here. This is just the hair mask by itself. If I actually get rid of the mask, so I'm just going to hide the mask really quickly. Sorry, hide the mask really quickly, and you can see. My guess is that you went in here to actually remove the spill, and instead of using a color blend mode, it was a normal blend mode. So it paints across it. You lose all the luminosity in there, and so it's not really removing the spill, it's just ending it. The other thing to point out in this is that your brush, I can spot that the brush is like way too hard here for actually doing spill removal work, so just something to keep in mind about that. Thanks. I want to show you Alex's really quickly. Oh, sorry. All in all, this stuff actually looks reasonably good, but I'm spotting this area over in here, and it seems like there's something wrong happening in this area right here. So if I take a look at the hair copy by itself, you can actually see, I'm going to look at the mask by itself. If we take a look at this mask here, you can see where the sort of the problems are. It seems really aggressive here in this lower part down in here, but not so much in the feathery image up here. It's like you can even see there's sort of like, this looks like brushwork that's actually happened on the outside. There's still a lot of contamination in there. So all of those things, if you're looking at this after the fact, can be fixed. So for instance, I can still run levels on this. So if I grab my eyedropper tool and I sample this grayer color that's right here, I can see that it's coming in at a 50% gray. So if I want this to be part of my image, I want it to show, I'm going to change it to an RGB color, hit Command L to run levels on it, and then again, I can lift all of this up so that now becomes a part of it. Now, that's probably going to be too aggressive as well, but I'm dealing with the cards that I was dealt with here, but it's just something to keep in mind that sort of like three sets of tones probably aren't really what you're actually looking for. And another one really quickly in here to show you. This is Alex's background layer, and again, if we take a look just at the layer mask right here, you can see what the problem is. It's just too soft. So this is supposed to only be showing the blue background, but all of these edges are too soft. So this got blurred somewhere along the line. And again, it's not the end of the world, just means you have to start the process over again. I want to show you Sophie's next. And the reason I wanted to point this one out is this is just an example of one that I thought was pretty well done. So this is without anything else on there. You can see the dovetailing that you would expect to be there. She's actually done an incredibly good job at minimizing the differences here. We'll take a look at the skin layer by itself. Again, this seems like a little almost painted, possibly done with the pen tool and then softened. I'm not really sure, but it hits things pretty well. This would be the counterpart to that, and the two of these fit together extremely well here. So I thought that part was pretty well done. Not to be outdone. I'm going to show you Jobella's really quick. Another one that I thought was actually very well done. So that gives us the blue background. And I'm going to get rid of all of that part up there. So in this one, again, I thought even though there is some dovetailing that's actually happening in here, that looking at these things, by themselves, actually, I thought this part was pretty well done. However, you would pick up small things like this that you'll sort of see that that transparency is beginning to come through in here. Again, there's no reason that you can't work on this stuff once they become layer masks. They're still editable. You can still work on them. You can even work on them by themselves. So if you hold down the Option key and actually click on the mask itself, it's sitting right here, and you can sort of spot the area where that transparency is coming through, or you simply go after it like this. So I'm going to make sure the brackets are around the mask. Hit the B key, make your brush much smaller. Again, you can look at the mask and I can see the area that I need to deal with is white. It's what's showing that skin. White is my foreground color. I've got 100% opacity, 100% brush. I'm going to make my brush relatively hard, but not completely hard. So this will keep it from overspraying up into this area up in here, but also give me control, and then just take that part out. And you can see that edge is still now too sharp. So I'm going to hit Command Z to undo that and soften that edge up even more. So we'll take it down to like 50% and try that mark again. And yeah, that's a better blend for it to happen that way. But just get in the process of looking at your masks by themselves, looking at your layers by themselves. You would be shocked at the stuff that you can spot. So this is an interesting one, and hopefully I'm going to be able to do this pretty quickly. So this is Gemma's right here, and I think all in all this was actually really well done. However, I think the area between her skin and the hair could actually benefit one from the other. So when I was looking at this to begin with, I'm going to look at just the skin version of this. So the skin version, I can see areas where I need to probably push that in a little bit more. But I'm also going to take a look at the hair mask right here. And the hair mask seems to me to be more complete than the skin mask did. So I'm going to actually leverage the hair mask part. So I'm going to do a little bit more work on the hair mask just to clean up this area up in here a little bit. So again, I'm going to go to a brush. I'm going to make this a completely soft brush. I'm going to leave the blending mode at normal. I am going to drop my opacity down to like a 30%. My foreground color is white, which will actually show more. That's not what I want to do. I want to hide this area that's up into here. So I'm going to hit the X key to get to black, and I'm going to simply click and drag down. That 30% is not showing up enough, so I'll go ahead and crank it up to 100% and click and pull this down. And it's cleaning that part up just a little bit more. So this is where I am right now. I will show you what it looked like in the beginning. So it's just cleaning up that part right now. Then to transfer this to my skin mask, I can load this hair mask as a selection. So I'm just going to hover over the thumbnail of this, click on it to load it as a selection. I now have the marching ants. Then I'm going to go to my skin mask. And you can see this is the area that I actually want to show now. So this area, if you look at the mask, is actually darker, and I need that to be lighter so that it shows more of that skin up there and dovetails a little bit better with the hair mask as well. So black is my foreground color. I need it to be white. And then I'm going to simply click on this. And this is weird. When I load this layer mask, it loads the inverse of this, and I can tell it's loaded the inverse of this because I can see the marching ants going around the edge of this. So I've got to invert this mask, and then hopefully working on this with white as my foreground color, I can start to just pull into that layer part up in there. And again, I think that this is a better edge that's going on in there. Probably hit that a little bit more. And now look at the dovetailing together. Command D to deselect. Put these two together so that they can show. I'll do a quick snapshot of what this looks like right now. Go back to take a look at it, what it looked like with Jim, and you can see I've got less of that area that's like no man's land in here, but I'm basing one of my selections on another selection, especially the part that actually touches it. So that's that part. We don't need to save this anymore. I'm going to go back and take a look at the second part of that assignment. And again, I'm going to take a look at just some strange things that I ran into, and I'm not sure how they ended up that way. So this might actually be a question for you. So I'm going to take a look at Alex's first, and I'm not sure which one it is. So we'll find it. It's this one right here. So Alex, do you have any idea? This is what your layer mask looks like. How this ended up. This almost looks like a layer mask for a path, because you've got this middle gray background here. Did you have any idea how that came about? Because this really should be black. Like a typical mask, if you take a look at any of your other masks, you'll actually see like this mask right here. This is what you would expect, the figure to be white and the background to be black. But this one ended up like that. And I just wanted to point it out to see if you knew how that ended up happening there. But if you don't, it's not the end of the world, it's just to point it out. But that's just odd. You could probably conceivably fix this. So right now I've got, it's reading 69s in there. I'm going to run levels on this and then just grab this bottom part here and drag it up, and that basically will fix it. I would have to look and see what it really does to the edges of the hair, but anyway, that's how I would go about doing that. I want to take a look at Amanda's really quickly. Yeah, so this was a really interesting one, and it's not necessarily wrong, but I just wanted to show you how she actually dealt with making this background white. So she ends up here with the knockout's actually done on it, which is fine. But then she actually puts a layer on top. And now this is a hue saturation layer. And what she's done is she's actually, she's run this to eliminate any of the green in here. So she's dropped the saturation down to 0, which removes all the green. And then she's amped the lightness all the way up. And it works. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But what you'll find as we get deeper into the class, especially with compositing, is that anytime that you have background on top of figure, it starts getting really complicated to keep the masking working. So it's this mask up here. So right now you've got a mask that's doing the knockout, and that part's doing it really well. But now, because you've got what's controlling your background on top of it, you got another mask going on. These two are going to interact with each other, and the more this keeps happening, so if you continue to add to that, it starts, the masks and their interactions start getting to be more and more complicated. So instead, what I would do, I'm going to turn off that layer. I'm going to simply come down here underneath and add just a solid color layer. A solid color layer underneath this. make it white, and say OK to that, and then invert your mask. You end up with the same place, but now I've only got one mask that I've got to deal with instead of two. Because if you came in and you actually had, in your original version here, if you make any modification to this mask at all, you have to modify the one above it as well. And if you have multiple ones above it controlling things like shadows or other elements in the background, then they all have to change. And it just gets more and more complex. Does that sort of make sense? Okay. Does that make sense to the rest of you guys? All right. Again, the result at the end works. I just am telling you from experience that things get horribly complicated when you start to have more than one mask controlling what you see in your figures. Ultimately, the parts that you're trying to build to do the composite part.
I have a question.
Shoot.
So, with trying to remove the spill from the skin, do you just, like, make a smaller brush and just remove it and let it be gray? Like, you just, go about it, or do you just leave that green just right there?
No, you don't leave the green at all. You actually sample the skin color, and you use that to remove the spill. So here, are you? I'm going to open that one again. Did you see it on this last one?
Yeah.
Okay, so.
I mean, before doing.
No. I'll show you which one. I'm just not sure which of these images you're talking about. So we can look at it really quickly. All right. So not this image. This one right here.
So you know how you got the green right there in the back of the neck?
Yeah. So I'll show you how I would actually go about this guy. So first I am going to do the knockout, what I think is the better way. All right, so we have spill in the hair. Again, this is a destructive move, but I've got my virgin sitting right down here. So in this move up in here, I need to select the pixel content because that's where I'm going to do the work on. I'm going to hit the B key to get a brush, make it a larger brush, make it a soft brush, completely soft brush. Change the blending mode from normal down to color because all I want to do is change the color. I don't want to change any of the tone. 100% opacity, 100% flow, and then I'm just going to hover over a color of skin, hold down the Option key to sample that color right there. You can see my foreground color just changed, and then I'm going to even make my brush larger because then I can use just the edge of the brush and start to paint to remove the spill, and that part works out really well. However, you'll see the same thing will happen on her face. It keeps the detail, it simply changes the color. I'm going to hit Command-Z to undo that, but you were talking about the spill on the side of her face right here?
Yeah, like when you go, when you zoom all the way in and you see like the green on the outside of her skin.
Yeah, like right here.
Yeah, you try to attack it, it turns gray.
So again, if I'm doing this with the color of her hair, it just makes it gray. That doesn't fit. So I'm going to hit Command-Z to undo that. You want to actually sample a color of skin. So I'm going to sample a color down here because, again, it's not the red of her cheeks, that's makeup. So it can't be that color right here, but it's this line that's actually happening in here. So down in here, though, I don't really have that spill color right here. So Option key to click on that, and now I've got a foreground color that is based on skin, and then I just remove from there. And the same thing underneath. That's actually a little too much green in there. I mean, too much desaturation there. But does that make sense? Okay. Oh, interesting. I was going to answer that very question in 2 frames, but that's all right. I wanted to show Judas real quick. I thought this was just really well done. Good job. I'm going to show Robin's really quick. So in this, if you take a look at the spill removal that exists here, that Robin actually put in here, it's pretty complicated. So I want to take a look at what this started out with at the beginning. So this is the first of the knockouts. This was done with the channel, and you can see the spill removal layer right here. So if we click on this to make it visible, it actually does remove the spill, and that part's fine. It works exactly the way it should work. So again, in this case, instead of using a brush that was set to a color blend mode, the entire layer that has been clipped down to this image has got the spill on it, and it is set to color. So you'll see if we change this to normal, that's what you end up getting when you're actually not using a color blending mode. This would just be the normal blending mode. And it not only changes the color, but it kills the luminosity. And the luminosity is what's really controlling the detail here. So I'm going to take this back to color. That part's correct. But then you actually take a look at what Robin did on this second knockout right here. And you can see there's an enormous amount of... I'm going to unclip this really quickly so we can see it by itself. There's an enormous amount of work that's actually being done to the skin up here that doesn't necessarily have skin on it. And that doesn't mean that it's wrong. It just means that this is replacing all of that color in here. So I'll show you what this looks like. It's before and after effect. All right, so that's clipped, that's on. We'll take a look at this right here with it going on and off. And you can see that there are areas that you spot, like this area right up in here that's actually been missed. So this is colorizing all of the image. It's making all of the image one single color, and I'm not sure that's really a benefit in this. But anyway, that's kind of what's going on in here. But then the spots that get missed, you can see them right here. So if you're going to do that, you should, again, hold down your Option key and click on it so that you can just see that by itself. However, with it clipped, I can't see it by itself. So I'm trying to just turn on the eyeball, but again, because this is clipped to the layer that's underneath it, the visibility of the layer that's underneath it is controlling it all. So the only way I can see it is to unclip it, and then I can actually see it by itself. And you can see this hole that's happening right here is indeed what's causing this hole that's happening right here in the skin. So it's just being aware of all of those issues in here. Again, I'm not certain that the spill removal way is the best way of dealing with this part, but we'll be looking at other things today that might actually satisfy this same trying to recolor skin to make it more uniform. And then finally, one last one to look at, and we will jump into our work today. Take a look at Sophie's here really quick. Again, she did a really solid job of knocking this stuff out. That part was great. However, if we look at her spill removal, you can see not only has she removed the spill, but she's changed the entire background as well. And I don't know that there's a real reason to do that, because the problem with it is that this has now been destructive on this. If you wanted this layer to be something else in here, again, the layer mask is controlling what we're seeing here. So it's not the end of the world. I can still change the colors. I can do all of those, but I'm not sure that change. I'm nervous that somewhere down the line, it's not the end of the world in the sense that you can always make another copy of the face, knock it out using the mask, and do the spill removal all over again. But is there any particular reason why you felt the need to get rid of all the green? Okay, it works. It works at the end of the day, it works. I'm just saying that somewhere down the line, something might come up where you're just like, oh fuck, I did that now. Now it means I've got to actually do it all over again. Again, you have all the pieces, your workflow is fine, so that if you had to do this again, you could do it again. It wouldn't be the end of the world. Okay, we're done with that, we're done with that, we're done with that. 7. Alrighty, I think I've actually got time. We're going to do this knockout together really quickly, just to go through it. So if you guys can find a copy of this image, it's going to be in week number 4, I believe, in the assignment folder. Nope, it's going to be week number 5 in the assignment folder. And if you can double click and open it up. I just want to start with a version copy of this. This is not going to be in your homework. You're not going to turn this in, so you don't need to worry about this. So at any rate, I am going to open this again as a smart object. It's already, my version has already been color balanced, so I'm good to go on that. Get my screen as big as it can go, get the image as big as I can go. So I think most of you discovered that the zero selective color was the best way to actually do this work for this particular image. Using the green channel sucked. Actually, using the color range also with green worked out pretty well, I thought. But anyway, I'm going to do this using selective color. So we're going to go to the Actions palette again. So I know I've asked this last week. Does everybody finally have a working action of zero selective color? Does anybody not? All right, so then just you need to find it and we'll run it. All right, so you need to make it with me right now. Are you ready? Okay. So at your Actions palette, you've got the Actions tab active. There's 4 little lines to the right of that. You need to click on that. You'll get a flyout menu and you want to say New Action. We can set yours up right now if you want. Can you get to our, can you get online to our server? So this would be a great time to take a hard 10-minute break. So I have got, let's call this 25 after. If you can be back at 35 after, that would be great. And that way I'll have time to get Brianna through her stuff and get her up to speed.